I think it'd be better to have something to read more brief. I had something I could get my notes. Yeah. Well, for people who are very helpful in the answer. Oh, wow.
Check, 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 check. Mic check, check, check. Okay.
Good morning.
Roll call.
Commissioner Peterson,
Here.
Commissioner Ramos,
Director, Chairman, and I just want to thank people here and welcome them for coming out today to our Doñana County, Las Cruces, New Mexico. We appreciate having everybody here today. And Director, Chairman, I'm present today.
thank you. Commissioner Ryan,
Here.
Commissioner Rickliffs,
Here.
Commissioner Solopek,
Present.
Vice Chairman Montoya,
Here.
Chairman Kinzel.
Here.
Chairman Kinzel, I believe we have a quorum.
Right. You want to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, Ralph?
Yes, sir. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Introduction of guests. Good. You go first.
Morning, Commissioner, Director. My name is Donald O'Neill, the Deputy Director for the
Chairman, Commissioners, my name is Jacob Payne, I'm General Counsel. Morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, members of the public, my name is Jim Cummins, and I'm the Assistant Director of the Workforce Division for the Department of Community Affairs.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, my name is Paul Varela. I'm the Chief of the
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. My name is Jessica Fisher, and I'm the Shooting Program Coordinator for the Department of Kingfish.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Director General, Craig Sanchez, Assistant Chief of Education. Chairman, Commissioners, audience, my name is Chris Chadwick, Assistant Director of Portside.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, members of the public. I'm Martin Correa. I work in the Information Education Division as a regional officer.
Dan.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Dan Williams, and I work in the Information Education Division.
Good morning, I'm Sandra Dutra. I'm the Executive Assistant to the Director.
We wouldn't be here without you. Thank you.
Charter State, Sarasota Water Conservation District. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, members of the Public Sewer Light, Chief Wildlife, and
Morning, Chairman, Commissioners. Mike Matthews, Captain Southwest.
Morning, I'm Robert Grego. I'm the Colonel. Morning, I'm Herb Atkinson from Roswell, representing Safari Club International.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners, and Director. My name is Colleen Payne. I'm with the Mueller Foundation as the New Mexico Regional Director.
Big winner at the banquet.
That's right.
All right.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. I'm Brandon Wynn from Albuquerque, and I'm here representing the Backcountry Hunters Commission. Good morning, everyone. I'm Brian Martin. I'm the president of the New Mexico Wild Sheep Foundation.
Red Roll, I'm a visitor from Oregon. See how it's done now.
Did you drive here yesterday by any chance?
No.
I met some of your fellow Oregonians yesterday in the elevator, and they said they drove through a blizzard on the border between New Mexico and Arizona. So. That's true. They said, though, last year it was 90 when they visited Las Cruces. This year it was about freezing. So.
Morning, Chairman, Commissioners. Warren Bouvier, Darren Bronco, biologist, New Mexico Game and Fish.
Good morning, Chairman and members of the Commission. I'm the Smoking Pond and Big Game Program Manager for Department of Game Affairs.
Chairman, Commissioners, Tom Leahy, acting executive director.
Susan Torres, Communications Director, New Mexico Wild.
Good morning, all. My name is Bob McDaniel from here in Las Cruces.
Good morning, Commissioners. Lance Bernard, Vermeil Park Ranch, wildlife biologist.
Good morning, I'm Mike Jones from High Road, just kind of an interested in birds.
Good morning, Gail from Alamogordo, and here's an interested observer.
Everybody, my name is Jim Bates. I am Las Cruces resident, co-chairman of the Southwest Consolidated Sportsmen, a coalition of sportsmen's organizations in town here. And I want to apologize that more of our members have not shown up yet, but this is the land of manana, so I'm hoping they're going to show up.
Good morning, everyone. Randy Davis, CS Ranch, Cimarron, New Mexico.
Good morning, Mike Slum, Chief of Fisheries. Taylor Strite, Taos Fly Shop, and the Real Life Fly Shop in Santa Fe.
I think we got everybody. Welcome, good morning. Thank you for coming. Agenda item number 6, approval of minutes, January 11, 2018, regular meeting. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll move, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Agenda item number 7, Director's initiation of biennial review of state-listed and threatened or endangered species, 17-2-4 NMSA 1978. Your name is not John.
Mr. Chairman, that is correct. My name is not John, but John is actually out in the field doing work for some of our state's T&E species, so I said I would take
real
this for
work.
him. That's right.
All right.
So every biannual, by statute, we have to review the species listed under the state threatened and endangered species list. Currently, we have 56 listed as endangered and 62 species as threatened. Basically, all we do is review those to see if they should be uplisted from threatened to endangered or downlisted from endangered to threatened. Not putting any species on the list or removing any species on the list. That's a different process. So this is just looking to see if they're in the appropriate category of threatened and or endangered. As directed by statute, we need the commission to open up this review process. It would start a 90-day comment period. You'll see the dates there. We're looking for March 15th through June 13th. We'll come back to the commission in August to give you updates on the public comments, plus the status updates of every species and any recommendations of uplisting or downlisting. And then after that, we'd have a 14-day comment period based upon our recommendations to the commission in August, and then a final adoption of that in the October meeting is the way we're planning it. So with that, I'd take any questions and ask that the commission open the process for the biennial review.
Can you go back to that? Which mammals are threatened, if you recall?
So there's going to be
Not a
some
test,
there's going to be some chipmunk species that are going to be like a Skura mountain chipmunk and Penasco least chipmunk. Some of the other mammals. So we also take into account any federal listings sometimes and follow suit on what the federal status of that species is. So if it was a federal species that was endangered, then downlisted to threatened, we'd follow suit on that as well.
So threatened, which species of the 6 mammals, which ones are endangered? Do you recall the names of those?
I'm looking at the list real quick, sorry.
Is it phylum and genus? Like I went the whole Latin.
So in endangered, again, it's some like jumping mouse, meadow voles, Arizona meadow vole, gray wolf is endangered. Not this subspecific level, but Canis lupus as at the species level. Arizona shrew as endangered. And then threatened, again, some of the bat species are threatened. White-sided jackrabbit, which is federally listed as well. So, again, it's following suit of some of the federal listings as well. Some of them is just state.
Are there any of these different categories, anything off the top of your head that might be added to any of these, either of these 2 categories, threatened or endangered?
So again, the actual number will not change during this biennial review process. We won't put a species on the list or take it off. It could just be moving from endangered to threatened or threatened to endangered. As of right now, the biologists are working through that. If there's any new science that's been collected, I don't know of any that we've recommended for a downlisting or an uplisting. But during the last review period, we didn't uplist or downlist any. We kept status of the same on those species.
Nature moves so slowly. Okay. Any questions or comments?
So your request is just to initiate the review?
Commissioner Ryan, that is correct.
Can I get a motion to that effect, please?
Move to approve the initiation of the 2018 biennial review process of state listed threatened or endangered species.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Go forth.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 8, update on governor's special auction banquet results.
He's not Lance.
Mr. Chairman, that is also correct.
Shuffling the deck on me today.
I'm filling in for Mr. Cherry today, as he couldn't be. Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission, I'm here to present to you today an update on the recent Governor's Special Hunt Auction Banquet and also the Outdoor Adventure Show that ran concurrently recently. Began with the annual Mexico Outdoor Adventure Hunting and Fishing Show, and I'm pleased to report the event was again very successful. This year, more than 5,500 people attended the 3-day event, which was February 16th through February the 18th. At the Manuel Lahan building on the Fairgrounds Expo, New Mexico. Admission to the show was again free to all licensed anglers and hunters and trappers. Youth under the age of 18 were also free, and all other people had to pay $3 for entrance to the event. Attendees were treated to countless exhibits to include industry, hunting industry, fishing industry, outdoor recreation, nonprofit organizations. What was new to the event this year was the Cabela's sponsored skills-based learning event room. It featured demonstrations every 30 minutes. We had our archery range, our pellet gun trailer, our fishing skills casting, and our OHV simulator at that event. Next year's event is tentatively scheduled for February 15th through the 17th. In conjunction with the outdoor show, we ran the annual Governor's Special Hunt Auction Banquet, which many of you attended. It was held February 17th in the Creative Arts Center at Expo, New Mexico on the State Fairgrounds, across the street from the Outdoor Adventure Show. Our partner organization was Dallas Safari Club, New Mexico, and there was more than 350 attendees at the event. The keynote speaker was Matt Dunphy, who delivered a powerful message on the importance of national recruitment, retention, and reactivation, also known as R3 efforts, and encouraged everyone to do their part for the future of conservation and to take someone hunting who does not look like you, was the message he portrayed. The governor's tags and skulls auctioned off by the department set record numbers and generated more than $207,000 for New Mexico's valuable wildlife resources. During the auction and banquet, the department gave out 3 distinguished awards recognizing people for their excellence in wildlife conservation. Our first award was given out to Mr. Warner Glenn, who received the Governor's Conservationist Lifetime Achievement Award, and for his supporting role assisting the department with the successful reintroduction of desert bighorn sheep in New Mexico. He's also known for his leadership in the conservation of jaguar. The next award was given to Colleen Payne with the Mule Deer Foundation. She received the Commissioner's Wildlife Conservation Partnership Award for her efforts to establish the first Discovering the Outdoors and Encouraging Sportsmanship, also known as the DOES program. It's a cutting-edge women's hunting, fishing, and outdoor recreation, retention, reactivation, R3 program. Lastly, our own Kevin Holliday received the the Director's Professional of the Year Award. Kevin is the department's Conservation Aquatic Education Program Manager. He won this award for exemplifying the department's standards for excellence in wildlife conservation, teamwork, and customer service. In closing, I'd like to thank all the countless staff that committed a lot of time, hours, and to make this event successful. And with that, I'll stand for any questions.
I just want to compliment the department and all of the employees that worked so hard to put this banquet together. It's a year-long process, and it was extremely successful. Every year, you top the year before if it's possible, and you had a very successful banquet, and thank you for all of your hard work. It was a blast, too, and I'm proud to have attended and enjoyed it so much. Thank you.
One question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I've already heard this before, but you might let the public know that 207,000 as compared to last year was about 105. How much more than last year?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Montoya, I don't have the exact figure, but all the licenses were significantly higher at this year's auction.
So, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Montoya, if I may, we doubled the revenue from the year before. So it was quite a successful event.
And I think that 207,000 is a net figure, correct?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Montoya, that is correct.
Thank you.
I think it's great for the public to know, too, where that money actually goes and all the great things that that money's actually going to do for our state. So, yeah, get the info out there.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Ryan, we'd be happy to do that.
And Mr. Chairman, I just would add to that, the department actually uses that money and matches it to the Pittman-Robertson funding. So we're looking at $800,000 worth of projects going out there on the ground. So for every $1 that was raised, we get $3 more from the federal Pittman-Robertson fund.
It's awesome.
Mr. Chairman, also I'd like to add that in previous years, and Director, please correct me if I'm wrong, but we also have currently in place 2 premium statewide deer and elk hunts that used to be part of this auction, which are now available to the general public to have an opportunity to draw one of these awesome opportunities to hunt in New Mexico.
So, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Ramos, those were additional opportunities beyond the governor's tags. So you all had the foresight to put those in place, but those were not a part of the bundle that's allowed by statute for the governor tags. So it's above and beyond.
Okay, thank you. And I think my point that I want to make on that is that also the general public, not only the lucrative people that bid on these type of tags, has an opportunity to go out and actually hunt with the same type of requirements that are used for these auction tags as well. But that evening was a great success. I want to thank all the behind-the-scenes people who put it all together, not only the banquet, but also the whole, the exhibit hall and everything. A lot of logistical nightmare, but great job with working with all the vendors that came out for the show.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Ramos, we appreciate that.
Any other questions or comments? It's a great job, great event. Yep. I look forward to the next one. Neither one of you are Lance. Okay. Agenda item number 9, update on development of shooting ranges in New Mexico.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, again, I'm filling in for Lance Cherry. Jessica Fisher, our shooting sports coordinator, is here to assist me with this presentation. I come before you today to present to you an update on the department's status on shooting range development in New Mexico, and to share some of the strongest paths to success that we've learned for the future. The donation or purchase of private land has proven to be by far the most efficient path for the department to develop ranges in New Mexico. Through ownership, the department is able to use the value and expenses incurred through the transfer as matched to access federal grant dollars. Additionally, we have greater control to expedite compliance and avoid potential department barriers if we own the property ourselves. The Stephen M. Bush Memorial Shooting Range in Clayton is now our model for how this path can lead to success. Transfer of the property was completed in December of 2017 and is already in the final stages of compliance work. The donated property is eligible for those critical grant dollars. In addition, the donation of the property in addition to the donation of the property, the land donor has also offered a significant cash donation to enhance the project. That cash donation can also be used, leveraged against federal dollars to even bring more money to the project. Plans for the range are complete, and we are now working on putting the project out for bids in anticipation of construction starting at the beginning of the next fiscal year.
Is that a manned range, or that's just sort of like the one we've got online already?
Mr. Chairman, currently it is unmanned. However, we're working at looking at partnerships through different organizations that may be interested in having some sort of manned range type scenario.
Great.
The second successful path is through community partnerships. The department has been seeking out city or county governments with land who support development of a new range. While this path may not be as expeditious, the advantages of the department's ability to leverage local funds as match for grant funds are the long-term operation and maintenance of the range make this truly appealing. Already, the department has 2 strong partners with projects in progress on this front. The Clovis was the first to move forward with development of a new shooting complex to be located at their city park. The city of Clovis will be signing the MOU with the department at their next city council meeting. Additionally, they have already been funding and working on compliance for the project. We anticipate construction starting sometime in the fall. The second committed partner is Grant County.
Is this range is just shotgun?
Mr. Chairman, it has shotgun components. What are we going to add?
Mr. Chairman, there's a archery range. It's that yellow spot there.
Right.
A long-range rifle, right?
Correct.
Mr. Chairman, when you look at that schematic, as we start this process, we feel that in the future we can actually have a second phase down the road and maybe develop some other type of shooting bays in addition to what you see here. So consider that like a phase 1 type project.
Okay. Got to start somewhere.
The second committed partner is Grant County. In fact, on Monday, the department was notified that the county manager has approved funds to help get the project started. As for future projects, Luna County and Eddy County have both reached out to the department with hopes of using municipality-owned lands for constructing new shooting ranges. And just yesterday, the most recent hopeful partner that's come to the table is Guadalupe County has reached out to us and has expressed a high interest in developing a shooting range in their county. So we're really looking forward to meeting with them and seeing what we can develop with that county. The third successful path the department has identified is range enhancements with the purpose of creating public access to private ranges. Last year, the department completed a comprehensive inventory of all public and private ranges in New Mexico and posted them on the department's website. It was an interactive map and was also put up on our mobile app. One thing that stood out is significant numbers of ranges dispersed across the state with untapped opportunities that could be opened through partnerships with privately held ranges to promote public access. The department has reached out to the Albuquerque Trap Club to expand public access in exchange for improving opportunities for hunter education and recreational shooting. The project at the Trap Club will add mobile sporting clays and storage to provide wing shooting training opportunities in exchange for significant public access in New Mexico's largest urban population. The department is also working with the Butterfield Shooting Range in Las Cruces to expand shooting opportunities and increase equipment storage. Finally, I wish to report the Cibola County Shooting Range is back on track with federal, state, and local agencies once again working together. The new range near Milan is in the final stages of the RMPP, which will allow the transfer of the property from the BLM to Cibola County. We anticipate mitigation work to be completed in the next few months and the transfer of the property to occur in early fall. We are all eager to move this project forward and get the range built and open to the public. In closing, the department has found a number of successful paths to developing shooting ranges and look forward to future groundbreaking ceremonies where we can put a gold shovel in each commissioner's hand and turn over some keys. So with that, I will stand for any questions.
Well, you've exceeded my expectations. So good job thinking outside the box. I mean, there are private ranges. If we can cooperate with people to open those up, that's great. And it looks like you've got a few of these moving forward, excuse me, on a number of fronts. So maybe we'll get a couple more of these open in 2018. So that's great news. And I think it's, you got a pretty good mix. You've got archery, shotgun, pistol, rifles. So I think you've got a little bit of something for everyone in a number of communities, and that's great, really great.
I know there was some interest and some planning by community members for a shooting range in Santa Fe. I was just wondering if you have any update on, I know it was very preliminary last year.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Ryan, in Santa Fe, we have vacated the RMPP application with the BLM due to the long, extensive process, and we have really reached out to our supporters in the community, and we are currently actively looking for some property that we can acquire to pursue it, because Santa Fe is still an important place for us to construct a shooting range. So that is where we are at on that front.
I know that RMPP property was sort of a round peg in a square hole a little bit. So if there's a better location or a different location that we can do more easily without public rancor, I'm in favor of that. So Santa Fe it's a big county. There ought to be somewhere that we can put a range that will work. So keep at it. I know in that particular county it's probably not an easy process, but keep working on it.
Mr. Chairman, Craig, Grant County as well as Luna, when are those plans going to be drafted? Are they in place, or what's the...
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Ramos, Grant County has really come on as really wanting to do this. Just within the last few days, their communication with Jessica has been daily almost. Their county manager has committed the money to get the compliance work done, the 25% needed for the match dollars. I anticipate that is going to actually move faster than maybe the Luna County, because they've already got some stuff in place and they're willing to start spending money.
All right. Thank you. Thanks for keeping me in the loop on that.
It's always nice to hear that people are cooperating, whether it's private or public. That's good news. And I still believe these shooting ranges are good for the department, good for the commission, good for the state. I think they give people a place to go to shoot legally, safely, and I hope some or all of them become destination spots over time. So I'm happy with the progress. Yes, sir.
Just a question: is the Clayton Range completed as it's shown in your slide?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Rick Cliffs, it's not completed. The compliance work is nearing completion. Once the compliance work is done, then we can go out to bid and start the construction process. What we learned with the Tres Pierdas range was that the construction piece goes pretty quick, so we're getting close to that part. So it's, to answer your question, no, it is not constructed yet.
And the neighbors are going along with it right now?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Rick Cliffs, we have a very few concerned citizens that we've been communicating with and will continue to communicate with. The majority of the community is very supportive of the project.
Thank you.
It's good news. Any other questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I would just like to reach out to the audience. This commission has supported, and rightfully so, the passage of the modernization of the Pittman-Robertson Act, which is now moving through the federal system. I would strongly encourage members of this community or sportsmen to reach out to your federal congressional membership and support that Modernization Act. What it has in there is actually an allowance for more use of Pittman-Robertson to go to the development of shooting ranges and recreational shooting programs. 77% of the money that comes into Pittman-Robertson now is made by recreational shooters. And so it's an extremely important component. I'm very proud of being a part of the commission that has moved that forward so aggressively, and this would be a wonderful addition to the ability of the department to actually get things on more done quickly throughout the state of New Mexico. So if there's an opportunity and an interest by those folks sitting out in the audience, the support of the Modernization Act would be huge for the department and for actually any of the states.
I agree. Any other questions or comments? Great job. We'll, if we don't hear from you next meeting, we'll hear from you the one after. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
First correctly identified people, Donald Jaramillo and Paul Varela.
So, Mr. Chairman, just a personal note, Lance is down and out for health reasons. He soldiered through the event, but now he's literally on his back, taking some time to get better. So I appreciate all the work that Lance has done and apologize that he's not here to join us today.
He needs a wingman.
He does.
A wingman. No? Okay. Oh. Understood. Mr. Varela.
Mr. Chairman, agenda item number 10 is related to the 2018 legislative session. There are two bills currently awaiting action by the governor that are currently affecting the department. The first is House Bill 2, which is related to our operating budget for 2019, and the other bill is House Bill 306, which is related to capital outlay. House Bill 2, currently the appropriation sits at $39.3 million. This is a decrease of $726,000 from our FY18 appropriation. The majority of that decrease is the elimination of a transfer from the Trail Safety Fund that we have had to transfer to MNERD in the previous fiscal years. So Conservation Services was reduced $407,000. As I just stated, that most of that was from the elimination of the transfer from the Trail Safety Fund, and they added back in $93,000. Program support decreased in the other cost category $307,000, and for wildlife depredation and nuisance abatement, it decreased $11,000 from other cost categories. Other costs is basically supplies, computers, things like that. The House Bill 2 appropriation does include a transfer to MNERD for $500,000 from the Game Protection Fund. This is a transfer that we have been making in the last previous fiscal years. And as I stated, it does not include the transfer from the Trail Safety Fund. Currently, the Trail Safety Fund sits at about a little over $100,000, so we are not able to make that transfer this year. House Bill 2 also includes special appropriations. There are three appropriations for $500,000 each. The first is related to the Mexican wolf population and study on the elk population within the wolf recovery area. The second is $500,000 for the concrete flood irrigation system at Bernardo, and the third is $500,000 for additional boats and OHVs for the law enforcement program. House Bill 306 is the capital outlay appropriation bill. Currently, we have an appropriation of $12.4 million from various funds throughout the department. $5.9 million is related to wildlife habitat restoration and management projects. $2 million is for dam safety rules compliance. $4 million is for hatchery renovations, and $500,000 will be appropriated for shooting ranges. One thing to note is the capital appropriations are good for 4 fiscal years. And with that, I will stand for any comments or questions.
Dam safety compliance.
I knew you'd like that.
It just drives me bananas. Any questions or comments? Tell me about the wolf appropriation. Who brought that up?
Hi, Stuart.
Mr. Chairman, yes, I'll bring that too. So as you know, the wolf recovery plan was finalized in November. A component of that, and the component of the 10J rules for wolf, states that the state departments must determine unacceptable impacts to ungulate populations in order to make management recommendations for wolves. That has to go through the Office of Bureau Management at the federal, and it has to show that we have the scientific data to support it. So that special appropriation was to start a large study in the Gila on elk populations and looking at elk survival in relationship not just to wolves but other predators, and to see if we have, before the population grows large with the wolves, if we have an unacceptable impact, we could petition for
So is
management.
this $500,000 over 4 years?
Yes.
So are we going to hire a dedicated person?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, so the $500,000 is the state money. We'll match that to PR to make that $2 million. And so we will do it across both Arizona and New Mexico. Arizona is planning the same study, so we could do it a combined study across. We will hire PhD students. We'll hire technicians. We're planning on capturing approximately 400 elk across the 2 states, 400 to 500 elk across the 2 states, put GPS collars on it, and monitor survival. This will probably be a long-term project. The initial startup cost is getting the animals caught and collared, so that's what the big cost
Commissioner
is.
Ramos, this should make you happy.
Absolutely.
Figure out who's eating what.
That's right. Data drives need, and need drives change. Hopefully, when we get our findings, which I could probably predict, but I won't go there, and hopefully we will have a say on what we can do with the wolf recovery plan.
So this money, or this particular study that will be done, that's controlled by the state, by us.
Chairman,
we
that's
cooperate
correct.
with people, but
Yes, Mr. Chairman, that's correct. It'll be led by the state and with our cooperators.
do the feds detail somebody to work in that study, or what's their role in that?
So, Mr. Chairman, the biggest role of the feds is to provide us data from the wolf population. The wolves, they try to collar about an alpha out of every pack, and so we'll ask the feds for all that data to help us in concert when we're
So we're doing the
looking
ungulate part of it. They're doing the
Mr. Chairman,
wolf
that is correct.
part of it. Okay, understood. All right, you're going to get your numbers. We'll see if you're right.
Bet.
Any other questions or comments? Let me ask about dam safety compliance. Is that to maintain dams? Is it that same number I see frequently that just makes me grit my teeth?
So, Mr. Chairman, no, it's not necessarily to maintain. It's to get our dams into compliance with the state engineer regulations that were passed, I think now 10 years ago. We still have some compliance issues for dams. You all own 11 dams across the state, and so this money goes to getting into compliance with those standards.
I'm super enthusiastic about that. Getting in compliance with the standards, they're not super enthusiastic about maintaining some of these, but okay.
Along those lines, what is the future plans for Eagle Nest? That's the major one that I understand.
So, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Rickliff, we are looking at what the potential renovation of Eagle Nest will be. I know we've started those initial conversations. There is work that has to be done, and as we have had some initial conversations, that will be a big lift. It's a bigger lift than what you're seeing on the screen for the other dams, but we'll have to figure out what that is. But that's in the very near future. We're working to make those assessments and figure out what that will cost for the department.
I would also suggest that maybe Eagle Nest is a location to put one of our area offices if we're going to be doing the work. Maybe it's a place we want to look at for an area office, maybe off the beaten path, but at least take a look at it. Because if the work's going to be done and improvements there, we might be able to piggyback off of that.
Will do, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Thank you. Any other legislative updates?
Mr. Chairman, no.
It's pretty quiet this year, so I don't know what that means. Usually quiet's not good, but I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth. Agenda item number 11, initial discussion for potential rule changes on the Turkey Rule 19.31.16 NMAC for the 2019-2023 hunting seasons.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission, as we discussed at the last meeting, this is the year of rule changes for all of our big game species, including turkey and waterfowl, the non-2 big game species. This is the initiation, so it's the original or initial discussion on some proposed changes we might have. We'll come back to you at the next meeting with further refined changes, and then a third meeting to finalize those. So really a little bit of background data just on harvest. Not expecting you to read this slide or table, but just want to point out we average harvest about 2,600 birds across the state in the spring, and about 550 birds in the fall harvest. So the spring harvest is the predominant harvest of turkeys, which is common across the United States, with a little bit of added fall harvest. A little bit of the biology of the species. Really, those females start breeding right about the first week of April. Peak onset of incubation, so when they're laying the eggs and on the nest, is about May 10th to 25th, which also coincides with gobbling season. So that's where those birds really get at, very vocal, the males. It really coincides with incubation of the nest, and also right before breeding. Harvest mortality can be additive to turkeys, and male harvest can lead to potential declines as long as you keep harvest below 30%, which we think we've been doing, and we have no recommended changes on our 2-bag limit or open counter units because of the way we structure our seasons. We protect that breeding segment, and really what this graph is, it's a little tough to read, but it shows where the peaks of gobbling is for males. And so this is for Merriam's turkeys. You have that big first peak and right after the breeding, and then another peak during the incubation. So in this segment right here, in that lighter color shaded gray, is when hens are on the nest, less susceptible to harvest and disturbance. So what we try to do is structure that season, as you'll see, about mid-April to about the end of May is really when the peak gobbling is, but also ensures that females are bred, raise poults, and have a sustainable population for the future. Real briefly, just a graphic of the different subspecies of turkeys within the state. The yellowish orange is our Merriam species. Green is probably a hybridization or a potential hybridization of Rio Grandes and Merriams. The purple is where Rio Grandes are. You'll see across, of course, the Rio Grande, Pecos, but also some of the tributaries out by Tucumcari. And then finally the Gould's turkey, which is just in the Boot Heel. There is a hybridization up of domestics and probably Rios in the Farmington, Aztec area. That's just some escape birds that caused some hybridization back in the time. But for the majority of the state, we are Merriam's and a destination for a lot of people across the country to go harvest a Merriam's bird, especially in the spring. Our proposals at this time really are just to adjust the season dates like we do with everyone. So we have some Saturday starts. We have to do that to account for that. And then we're considering opening some fall units for open for hunting, such as 51, 52. Currently, they're closed for hunting. We don't think it'll have an impact on the population, proposing open it. And then also some areas for spring turkey like Bluebird, Mesa WMA, and the Jemez small WMA. But we've done some work in partnership with Turkey Federation for some habitat restoration, specifically for roost trees, that we think has helped and open that up for season. And then also GMU 33 in the southeast to open up to spring over-the-counter turkey season. So with that, I would take any questions.
When do we see this again?
Mr. Chairman, I believe you will see this at the next meeting.
And that'll be a final?
It'll be the second time, and then the final will be, I believe, in June for this rule.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I do have a question. I know, Stuart, I was looking at some possibly, I know we have the youth hunt going on right now. I'd like to see if we could incorporate possibly a youth or archery and youth combination, or archery only prior to the shotgunning season. You know, maybe a first, second, third hunt type of seasons, you know, in that equation. I don't know if that's possible. And I don't know what the trend is throughout the western United States with non-residents. And I know currently we have non-residents who can harvest 2 birds as well. And I know that might be legislative or not, but I'd like to see where non-residents harvest 1 bird versus 2.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Ramos, so again, we have structured our hunts to really avoid and to make it a sustainable population. Our harvest hasn't really changed much in the last 10 years. We're averaging about 2,500 birds in the spring, which we think is sustainable. It's been over the counter to residents and non-residents, but we haven't really seen much of a fluctuation in that 10 years. If you go back to this original graphic here, you'll see it stays fairly consistent on that harvest across time. And so from a biological speaking, we don't really see that a limitation would do anything from the population standpoint on either increasing birds or decreasing birds. We think we're well below that 30% threshold on harvest so we could sustain populations. As far as other seasons, yeah, we could definitely look into that. And then also, the biggest thing is probably staying to where we don't open before approximately April 10th, because that's when the peak of the breeding is, and we don't want to disrupt that, so we have poults going into the next future from a biological standpoint.
Okay. And your goal is to keep the harvest rate below 30%?
30% of the population, correct. And we're well below that, we think, especially a small fall harvest. 500 birds in the fall is way less than even natural predation or natural mortality would be. So harvest mortality is very minor component compared to total mortality in birds.
Okay. Thank you.
Brandon Wynn. Oh, you're the next one. I'm sorry. Bighorn. Nothing to say about turkeys. Okay. Very good. Any other questions, comments? We'll see you next month.
Thank you.
Don't go anywhere. Agenda item number 12, initial discussion for potential rule changes on the migratory game bird rule 19.31.6 NMAC for 2018-2019 hunting seasons. Mr. Liley.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission, this is a rule you see every year, given that we work in concert with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service to set migratory bird seasons on an annual basis. Just a quick update. We have to adjust it based on what's published in the Federal Register. The Commission has to follow those regulations that are published in there. We work with the federal government, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, to set those frameworks. So we meet multiple times a year to kind of hash out, argue, whatever you want to call it, and season dates and bag limits across that whole flyway from Canada to Mexico. One of the things that always happens every year is we get what the bag limits and possessions are going to be, either liberal or not. It's looking like we're going to go into another liberal season next year, which is good, and it looks like we'll get back our 2 pintail bag limit rather than we were restricted to 1 last year.
So this ultimately turns into an action item, right?
It will ultimately turn into an action item after the Federal Register is published in probably April. We'll come back in June and finalize this as an action item.
So we, living in the House Bill 58 world, there's sufficient time for us to do what we need to do to get the job done.
Mr. Chairman, yes. So that the structuring and this next graphic here gets at this. We had to adjust kind of how we're proposing this in front of you because of the House bill and how we would work through any Federal Register changes so we can meet our own obligation to the New Mexico statutes on rulemaking. What we really have here, and the important thing is what you'll see is we have to give to the federal government by the end of April our final kind of projections for what we want to do for our season dates, bag limits, et cetera. So after the second meeting that we'll have on this topic, we will basically ask for us to go to the federal government to say this is what our recommendation is. They'll put it on the Federal Register. It should be published on the Federal Register by the end of April, first part of May, and then in June the Commission will adopt what those federal regulations are.
If we get jammed up, because one year, as I recall, we got jammed up because I think the feds did their job late. We can probably handle this on an emergency basis under House Bill 58 and fix it at the next regular. So if we run into a problem and you're seeing it develop, let us know. So
yes,
we can
Mr.
deal
Chairman,
with it
that's
sooner
correct.
rather than later.
So that's the schedule. I think the way it's planned out and the way it's been scheduling so far, we're on track. And again, if, like you said, if it doesn't, we could do it through an emergency rule if need be, or postpone the finalization to a later date. Would be probably our recommendation. Is if we had to change something, postpone the decision from June to the August meeting.
As I recall, we got it one year. Didn't we get it in August? like at the last minute.
Mr. Chairman, yeah, 1 year we got it 3 days before the opening of dove season. So the Federal Register finally published at the end of August. Dove season opened 3 days later, and you guys had to approve that so we could open dove.
Stunk.
Now the Federal Register, we've changed that through the flyways. We went to the federal government and asked that they start the process much earlier. We meet, instead of in the summer, we meet in the fall now to start the process a year in advance. So that shouldn't happen anymore, theoretically.
You still have good information starting earlier. It doesn't.
Mr. Chairman, that is correct.
Okay.
So the biggest changes that we would have and that we see from the federal government, again, like I said, our pintail bag limit was reduced to 1 everywhere last year. We're looking like pintails went up in numbers in the previous year, so we'll be able to increase that bag limit to 2. So that's a big win for our hunters here. We're under our allocation of the Rocky Mountain population of sandhill cranes. That's a main sandhill crane population in the middle Rio Grande. So we'll be able to put those youth hunts a little bit later when the birds come in, and we could up our harvest on that population. So that's an encouraging thing as well. That population's been growing. Our proposed on our season dates really is no change from last year. It's a start on a Saturday, North Zone and the Central Flyway starting a week or 10 days before the South Zone, running to the end of January in the South Zone and running to January 17th in the North Zone. So really basically no changes. Liberal seasons, liberal bag limits, but with an increase of from 2 pintails to 1 pintail in the bag. Pacific Flyway, really, again, no changes. 107-day season, liberal again, 7 daily bag limits. So everything's looking good. We're under our take on Rocky Mountain, so we might be able to increase some of the sandhill crane permits again this year once we get our final allocation numbers, which should happen in the next month. With that, I'd take any questions or comments.
Anyone? So when will we see you again? Next?
Mr. Chairman, at the next commission
meeting. Okay. Don't go anywhere. Agenda item number 13, subsequent discussion on potential rule changes on the Bighorn Rule 19.31.17 NMAC for the 2019-2023 hunting seasons. I'm just trying to create some drama, right, on an otherwise dry topic. So that's why Mr. Wynn, I've asked him to comment on number 13 to increase the drama. Okay, I've got your card right here.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, so this is the second time that you'll hear this. The next time will be the final rule, which is in May. So really what we're looking at today, this is our hashed out basically recommendation that we're going to post in the rule. We'll post that rule here in the next 15 days or so, I think, is when we'll submit it to the New Mexico Register for finalization, again in adoption in May. So today is really the time to speak up if you have any other changes that you don't see in here. But right now, this is what the department's proposing. A little bit of background before we get going. This year's harvest was great. Highest record numbers of ram tags across the state, both for deserts and Rockies. We do still have 1 desert hunt going, so you'll see we've harvested 26 out of 29. One of those hunts is on the Frock Cristobal's in March is when that hunt will occur. We had 2 unsuccessful Rocky hunters this year. One was actually an unsuccessful. They couldn't retrieve it. They harvested it, but it fell off a cliff, and they attempted to retrieve for a long time, and one hunter just couldn't make it. He for personal reasons, couldn't get out in the field to go harvest. So a great year. And I think the biggest success and the success of this program is explained by this graphic alone. The department's worked really hard on both Rockies and deserts, and you'll see here we have increasing populations and continue to increase. With Rockies, that top line, we're basically have put Rockies in all historic range in New Mexico. We're excited about that. They all continue to grow and offer more opportunity. Deserts, there's still some place to put them in other areas. We're expecting eventually that yellow line crosses over that red line, and we think we'll get there maybe not by the next rule cycle, but in the next 8 years, we hope to see deserts actually get above Rockies, which would be really exciting for the state of New Mexico.
You can put that on your resume.
That's right.
CV.
Well, it's not. It's partially me. There's a lot of people behind the scenes. There's
an asterisk. Team
That's
effort.
right, an asterisk on it. We did hold 2 public meetings. We had 17 people attend those public meetings. Overall, people are in favor of our proposed changes. We did get some comments that we've incorporated into our recommendation, and some comments that we'll incorporate into potentially manner and method. So one thing that we discussed at the last meeting, we'll remove manner and method from each species rule. So when you guys want to change something in manner and method, you don't have to open every species rule. It lives in one rule. So that first comment there on tracking a wounded big game with dogs, that would live in manner and method. We'll bring that rule to you for initiation in June. We'll carry this comment over to that rule when we bring it to you, so we'll bring it back up then. There is an ask, and biologically we can increase some archery ewe hunting opportunities. We've done that in multiple populations. I'll get to that here in a second. One of the big thing was also on our enhancement tag changes. I'll get to that here too. We agree with the public comment and we went there. And then there was just a little bit of a comment on feeding a bighorn in opposition for it. Again, that would be in a manner and method if that was the case. But
supplemental? Or what?
Any feeding period of artificial feeding of bighorn was the comment opposed to that. So. Again, like all of our rules, we adjust the season dates for a calendar, but one of the biggest things that you'll see here is we're proposing increasing the up to numbers. The bighorn sheep, we do not set a specific number in rule because it changes so potentially drastically, but we are proposing an increase to up to 60 Rocky Ram tags and up to 60 desert tags, which is huge for us. It's a significant increase. What that is in the Rockies, there's two potential populations during this rule cycle that we may be able to hunt. As it is right now, we went hunting the first or probably the second year, maybe in the third or the fourth. That includes the Jemez Mountains or the Manzano Mountains. Those populations have not been harvested out of it, but we may be there by the time this rule cycle is open or finished. So we're proposing creating hunts in those with dates to be determined because we've done that in the past. We don't know what that's going to look like when we actually go into that harvest, but we just want the commission to allow us to open that season up in case we have harvestable rams. San Francisco River, we're remaining the same at 1 hunt. Pecos, we're keeping it at 2 hunts. We're moving those to 10-day hunts so they at least cover 2 weekends in there. Wheeler Peak used to be 1 hunt. We're proposing splitting that to 2 so we don't have an overcrowding of too many hunters hunting the same rams at the same time. Again, those would be 2 10-day hunts, 1 in September, 1 in August. Latier with 2 ram hunts, but that's the current. And Rio Grande Gorge, we had 1 hunt in there. We're proposing splitting that to 2 ram hunts. That's our fastest growing Rocky herd right now as it is. And then Calabres, the same. And one of the big things in the dry Cimarron is keeping that the same. We worked diligently with those private landowners in there in the last few weeks, months. The recommendation is to keep the hunt dates the same, and they're from both the private landowners and also from the public. So that's for the Rockies. On the deserts, really our only change is to add a February hunt in the Frog Cristobal's to spread out hunters across instead of having multiple hunters on each ram hunt, we're trying to get it to spread out so it's more of a unique opportunity when people do draw that tag. A big change is on the U tags. Again, success of growing these populations, but it also increases our management on the U side of things, especially with Rockies since we don't have any unoccupied habitat to take them to, so to offer some hunting opportunity. What you'll see here is multiple U hunts we're proposing for U's across all the herds. Up to 150 rifle U tags is what we're proposing. 2 hunts in the Pecos, 3 different hunts in the Rio Grande Gorge. That population's at about almost 400 sheep right now. So we're trying to prevent movement to domestics is our biggest concern in there. There's domestics to the north in Colorado and domestics to the south in New Mexico. So we're trying to confine it to about 350 animals in the main corridor. Wheeler Peak 2 hunts and Latier 1. One of the big changes that we also did was create archery U hunts across all these Rocky populations. We think the opportunity is there. We had a big demand from some of the hunters. So what you'll see there is creation of those archery U hunts for Rockies. And then one of the things that we're proposing, we do have, 2 years ago, the commission amended the bighorn rule to allow for population management. It still states that any ram hunt would be once in a lifetime, but if we have a population management hunt for a yearling ram, we wouldn't want to make that a once in a lifetime for a hunter. So really the option would exist. If it's going for a trophy ram or an older age class ram, we'd still make it once in a lifetime, but we want the ability with concurrence of the director and the chairman, if it's young rams we're trying to harvest out of a population, we don't want to restrict that to a once in a lifetime for hunters. And then again, like we said, manner and method moved out. And then the auction hunter and the enhancement program, what we're really trying to do is change the deadlines of when they can declare what unit they're going to hunt in. The 2 units that are declared then are set aside for one for the raffle hunter, one for the auction hunter, and the rest of the units that are not declared, they can each hunt those. So now that we have a long a bigger population, we're allowing harvest to be spread out across different areas rather than when it was a small population. We really wanted to concentrate just harvest in that one. And with that, I would take any questions or comments.
So the limits are going up.
Mr. Chairman, that's correct.
So, excuse me, does it make sense to give discretion to the director to adjust those limits downward if you're seeing a population problem over the 4-year period?
Mr. Chairman, that's currently in the rule, and we would keep that in the in the next rule. So if we saw something like that,
as long as that's in there, I'm cool with it. Mr. Nguyen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. And these comments are personal. These are not for backcountry hunters and anglers. And I like the changes here, and I just wanted to make a comment. I'm kind of a sheep nut, and it's amazing the work that the New Mexico Environment Department has, or New Mexico Environment Department, my God, no, they're the opposite. So the New Mexico Department of Game and Fish has done with bighorn sheep, with the biologists and everyone in the department. It's really an amazing program. It's very much a world-class wildlife story. It's fabulous. And also, I really like the change with the enhancement hunts to let the auction raffle hunters, once they pick their specific units that they basically will own for themselves, that they can hunt in the other units. I think you'll raise a lot more revenue. I've, at some of these sheep shows I go to and stuff, I've talked to some of these auction hunters, and they are kind of reluctant to spend more money in New Mexico because they get restricted to a certain unit if the ram they're looking for is just not there. So that's really going to be a moneymaker. And it's a fantastic, the way you work that out, because I know there's been problems with the auction and the raffle hunter when they were able to hunt at the same time. A raffle hunter shooting a ram out from underneath the auction hunter, and it was kind of a messy situation. So it's a neat thing that you came up with. I really like that. And on the archery hunts, as a bow hunter, I would sure like to see archery ram hunt. As you get more hunts, I'd like to see you add that at some point. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions or comments from commissioners? From the public?
It's going good.
All right, John. Don't go anywhere. Agenda item number 14, subsequent discussion for potential rule changes on the Javelina Rule 19.31.21 NMAC for the 2019-2023 hunting season.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission, this is the second time that you have heard this Javelina Rule. So again, if you have any more comments or direction that you'd like to see us go before we finalize the rule, which would be a finalization in May, posting here in the next month. So this is kind of the department's recommendation. If you guys see anything different, please let us know at this time. Real quick, harvest. This is the last year's harvest. We harvested approximately 440 javelina across the state of New Mexico, almost split evenly between the Boot Hill units and the rest of the state. Public comment is very minimal right now. We've only had 2 public comments on our proposed changes. One was actually to move the youth hunt out of the archery hunt. We're not recommending that change. We have 150 youth hunters across the entirety of the state. It gives them a time at really Christmas or Christmas break, that 1st of January, to go hunting. We don't see it as a big conflict, so we're not necessarily recommending that. And then the other comment was to lower the cost of javelina license, which is set by statute, not commission rules. So there's really nothing at this time we could do about it until someone carries a bill through statute. Biology, real quick, really, in terms of native big game in North America, javelina has the greatest potential for reproductive potential. They have 2 potential litters a year. That said, really, javelina harvest is not driving population numbers. Is what we're getting at. Is it's really conditions on the landscape that drive javelina populations more so than harvest ever would, especially when you're talking 500 javelina harvested across the entirety of the state of New Mexico on an annual basis. Again, so our typical adjust the season dates for the calendar start is what we're proposing, and then we're proposing no other changes to the Javelina Rule. We did modify this mid-cycle to allow those units outside the Boot Hill to be over the counter with caps, and that's been working well. We recommend continuing with that. So with that, I'd take any questions.
Questions or comments? I don't think so. Agenda item number 15, subsequent discussion for potential rule changes on the pronghorn antelope rule 19.31.15 NMAC for the 2019-2023 season. At the conclusion of this item, I'm going to ask for a motion to move up public comment. So commissioners, keep that in mind. Agenda item number 15.
1 second.
Are you not prepared?
Just trying to get all my notes straight.
I'm only kidding.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, as you're well aware, we've really been working on this proposed pronghorn change for almost a year now. We brought it first to the commission almost a year ago. We've been working through across the state, discussing this and really developing this proposal. Was a build out of meeting with groups individually, and then going forward all the way to having public meetings and really building this proposal. So I think it's important to just stress kind of the biology drives our recommendation and why we got to where we are with pronghorn, this proposal in front of you today. And the biggest thing is, like a lot of ungulates, female survival and fawn survival really drive the populations. Male survival is we have to just have a few males to breed many, I guess, is the biggest thing. And so really our strategy is a male-based bias strategy. We don't need to have equal numbers of males and females. And when we get that, we could have more harvest across the state is where it gets to. Pronghorn are also unique in that they reach sexual maturity faster than any other ungulate in North America. Peak horn size could reach as early as 2 years old and as late as 5 years old, really, with the average being about 3 years old reaching peak, unlike elk, maybe 10, or deer at 7. So we have the opportunity to harvest at a little bit higher rate given that. We also switched our survey methods about 3 years ago, and that's shown us that we are being very conservative in our current methods of harvest on the state, and we have the ability to offer more hunting opportunity. Really, the biggest issues we see with the current system, and the current system is the A+ that everyone refers to, is we are not hunting pronghorn equally across the state, and in fact, we're not hunting pronghorn in many areas of the state. This graphic is kind of the extreme example, but it is an example of what we see across the state. This is GMU 40. What you see there in the hashed black is areas in the state in which pronghorn habitat occurs, but no pronghorn hunting occurs. What that is landowners not enrolling their property, maybe not wanting to participate in agreements with the department, not wanting to have public hunters on their property, not wanting to go through working with us particularly, or not meeting minimum qualifying acreage, which are those red hash lines. So what you see there across the state, there's approximately 265 landowners that do not meet the minimum qualifying acreage that want to participate, have pronghorn on their property, but cannot. And then you have the black there, that people that are saying, look, I don't want to go in all of the processes that's required for pronghorn to sign up, enroll my property, get going in it. It's just not worth my time. So we have a lot of areas where we're not harvesting pronghorn across the state, and we're concentrating harvest year after year in the same areas, and that's that white hash mark. So you'll see that. A lot of missed opportunities. Some of the other big things that happen there, landowner concerns, like I said, about not wanting to have a public hunter. Right now, the current system, if you enroll in A+ and you have leased land, you must allow public hunters onto your property to hunt, including your deeded property. Some landowners and a lot of landowners just will not sign up because of that. What our proposal is basically on your private deeded property, it's over the counter. You just like we do for deer. You can hunt that. It's not an agreement with the department. You go out there, buy the license, hunt your deeded property. So what we came up with, and this is again a build out from months and many meetings with public landowners, different groups that were interested in it, is coming up with this kind of structure across the state. One of the big things that we did and we looked at and what we had public comments from was originally we were proposing 5-day hunts. We moved that back to 3 based on concerns that we had. And also we were proposing some hunts into October. The biggest concern was that they would like to see hunts in August. So we made that recommendation. What you see in front of you today is a build out from some of those comments and concerns that we had. We're proposing a structure across the state that has an archery hunt that will either start Saturday, or August has 5 or 4 Saturdays depending on what the year. But starting that first Saturday or second in August and running 9 days, then the first rifle hunt, second, third, etc. One of the big changes that we were making too, instead of a Saturday start, on that third rifle is a midweek start, a Tuesday through Thursday. A lot of hunters like that. A lot of people saying, look, I work on the weekends. Yes, for some people it's nice to have the weekend start, but for me it's better to have that midweek start. So that's a new recommend change there. And then some of the biggest thing that we're going from to here is really you're picking where you want to hunt. Right now, if you put in for the Northeast, you from I-25 east and north of I-40, it's one hunt code for rifle. And you get assigned to a place where you go hunt. So it's one hunt code for all that area. We're going from 60 hunt codes to 160 hunt codes. You really select what unit you want to hunt, where you want to hunt, and you go hunt any legally accessible public land if you draw that tag. If you're a private landowner or you have family, friends, clients that want to hunt your private deeded property, you hunt at the same time as the public hunter on your deeded property. You get your license through the department's website, go to Walmart, etc., and go hunting. There's no agreement, so it's not 2 years in advance before the hunting season starts that you have to sign an agreement, participate, negotiate every year, etc. One of the biggest changes that since the last time you saw this that we came out of after working with interested groups that had concerns about this proposal was when we had land status where it's very checkerboarded. This is an extreme example of a landowner that would have checkerboard ranches. You could see there, white being deeded, blue being state land, and yellow being BLM. It's very checkerboard in there. Posting would be a kind of an issue. What we created was this kind of pronghorn unit-wide agreement. We would do this on a case-by-case basis with private landowners that have a property similar to this status. If they want to enroll in the pronghorn unit-wide kind of status, we would enroll their lease land, their deeded land, create a ranch, put it on our website saying this is a ranch that's created to give access to public hunters, but also allow that private hunter to hunt that leased land. So what it would allow is anyone that drew a tag in that unit would be able to access this, like our open gate properties go onto that deeded and their leased land. But that landowner, we would let them hunt the deeded and their leased land at the same time because of that. It would have to be a net benefit for the landowner. On this issue, again, you go one every mile, there's either state, public, deeded, and then it would also allow that public hunter access to that private land. So really it'd be on a case-by-case basis. It'd have to be somewhere where it's really landlocked private land is what, or public land, excuse me, where we're really getting access to the public hunter onto that landlocked public land, but also letting that landowner be able to hunt that as well. If we go into that system, we would negotiate the number of tags for that private landowner on a case-by-case annual basis as well. That was one of the big things that we pulled through as we met with groups, as we met with concerned landowners on that, and that was kind of, we came up with that. And then unitization, as you guys know, we can do that process, which is already in rule if we want to, if that's the landowner wants. The other big thing that we did change since the last one, like I mentioned, was moving the hunts from 5-day long hunts to 3-day hunts. That was a big concern that we addressed and moved. And then moving those licenses from October, September, all the way into August. That was another big concern that the department heard from the public, and we addressed and moved that forward. Another one was split. GMU 31, 32 in the southeast are two very large GMUs. Our proposal, based upon working through these groups, is to split those GMUs in half. And what we're planning on that one, let me get to that real quick, is one of that GMU will split by the Pecos River, have an east and a west unit, and the other split by Highway 70 and have a north-south unit. So we can spread out hunter density across the unit is really what the goal of that is, so we don't have everyone going to the one area. We did have a tremendous amount of public, in terms of my experience with any rule changes, it's the most public engagement we've had from both coming to us and us reaching out. We held 4 public meetings, but we held multiple landowner meetings across the state. We held multiple meetings with interested parties whenever they wanted to come talk to us. And we've had about 110 written comments on this proposal, which unique written comments. I would like to stress that some of the other rules, we might have a robo letter that's the same, but this is unique. And a lot of the comments and concerns what we're proposing today have been addressed. And so that's what it is. So the majority of people are in support of this program. The ones that had comments and concerns is what the proposal shaped into. So there would be a comment that says, I don't like the 5-day hunt, so I'm opposed to it as it is right now with the 5-day. We addressed that and went to 3 days. So they haven't resubmitted a comment, but we took that into consideration, and that's what the proposal in front of you today is taking those concerns forward and coming up to what we find is kind of the middle ground, and really majority being in favor of that. So there's a multitude of comments. If you guys have specific questions on what those would be, I'm happy to go over it. But again, we took those comments and shaped what the proposal is today based off of that. Real quick, just a summary by area on where we're going on hunts and proposals of what it is. We're planning on, or our proposal is to increase in the Northeast area rifle hunts by 36%. In rule today, it says 500 licenses, but because of returned agreements, we're only able to get about 370, 380 licensed hunters out there, and that's the way the system is now. So we're really not increasing much from the rule, but we're increasing based upon more land mass being able to be hunted across the state. So you'll see the different increases by each weapon type in the area. I'll go through this briefly. If you guys have any questions, we could stop. If there's a different, a specific GMU, I have that information if you're curious about it as well. The Trace Payedras herd, a small herd that actually lives at high elevation, one of the highest elevation living pronghorn herds in North America. We're actually proposing opening GMU4. GMU4 has never been hunted for pronghorn, and it's really kind of an interesting hunting pronghorn up in Aspen mixed conifer forest, so it's kind of a unique experience. We are putting back in from a lot of public comment. We used to have a bow hunt at those GMUs. We did away with it about 10 years ago. We're proposing bringing it back based upon a lot of the public comment. There was a strong desire to have a bow hunt in that unit again. Southeast area, really it's maintaining license numbers is a slight increase you'll see there in rifle 6% and archery 20%. But again, this increase is going over a lot larger land mass. There's a lot more pronghorn habitat and pronghorn populations that will be hunted now. And then, like I mentioned before, the split in GMU 31-32. Northwest area, a slight increase, 18%, but really that's 3 licenses. It's a pretty small pronghorn population in that Northwest, but there is opportunity. We are increasing that to some extent. The Southwest area is a slight increase as well, based upon the available populations and hunting some more areas that have previously not been hunted. So, and that, I would take any questions.
Anybody?
Hear public comment first.
Let's go to the public first. Dave Kennecke. Did I get that right? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Dave Kennecke, Philmont Scout Ranch up in Cimarron. Just a concern, and would ask that the department perhaps be poised or ready. There is the Pronghorn Conservation Recognition Program. As we move into this right now, all the deeded properties up there will be taking a step back, if you would, in flexibility of the dates that they're allowed to hunt. And perhaps if the private lands could be allowed to enroll in that even prior to the 2019, or the department be poised or ready so that if they qualify for that, we would have a little bit more flexibility in scheduling the hunt dates, as opposed to just being locked into a couple of weekends. From private landowner standpoint, it gives us a little more opportunity as far as staffing and the quality of hunts available for people that would be paying to come to New Mexico.
Thank you. What do you say about that, Commissioner Rickless? What do you say about that, Commissioner Rickless?
It does make sense. I know what he's up against as far as his summer season and later hunt dates. If that flexibility was there, would be helpful.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Rickless, and I apologize I didn't mention this. I was trying to get through some of the proposal. And so that is a proposal change that we haven't since you have seen in August. The department from Philmont and some of the other large ranches in there received that comment, some flexibility on dates on these private properties that are making a beneficial contribution towards pronghorn conservation. We would allow flexibility on those dates. That's what, in the rule as we've drafted and proposing it. I failed to mention that today, and I apologize, but that was a build out from some of the conversations that we had.
That addresses.
So that would address his concern is when he's making a concerted effort towards pronghorn conservation that's having a net benefit for pronghorn across that area. The department would enter into an agreement with that property to allow flexibility on hunt dates on that property. So yes, we put that in the rule, and I apologize I did not mention that during the presentation.
Lance Bernal. Not a retired wildlife biologist. A legit wildlife biologist. All right.
You guys see me quite a bit, and now I finally get to speak to you. I'd just like to read a statement regarding the pronghorn rule from Vermejo Park Ranch. Mr. Chairman and Game Commissioners, Vermejo Park Ranch would like to acknowledge the New Mexico Game and Fish Department for their hard work and consideration of private landowners, both large and small, when rural development and rule changes occur. From public meetings and written public comments, we know that the department does their best to address everyone's considerations and concerns. Vermejo is very appreciative of the open communication the department has maintained during this new pronghorn rule development, and we are very excited to learn that the department has included the option of a pronghorn conservation program similar to the Deer Incentive Program in the new rule. We feel the Deer Incentive Program is a great program and has been a successful program at Vermejo. We only anticipate the new pronghorn program will be just as successful. Recognizing landowner properties that conduct or maintain substantial habitat improvements on deeded lands that directly and significantly benefit not just pronghorn but all wildlife is a win-win for everyone, especially the wildlife. We are more than willing to work with department biologists to get this program up and running for the 2019-20 season. Again, we appreciate the hard work the department and the commission do to ensure the conservation of wildlife in New Mexico. Sincerely, Vermejo Park Wild Ranch Management and Natural Resources Department.
So you're in favor of the rule change?
We are.
Okay, right on. Brandon Wynn. Not on behalf of yourself.
I always feel like I'm bending over and like bowing down. Not that I don't feel like I should bow down to.
Don't bow down.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners.
Not necessary for the people in the back.
I speak on behalf of backcountry hunters and anglers, and we, first of all, we really appreciate the.
You're coming in loud and clear.
You can hear me, right?
Yeah.
So
you're speaking.
No, I am. There I am. So anyway, we support the proposed rule, and Backcountry Hunters and Anglers supports the proposed rule. And also, we really appreciate the amount of work that the department's put into doing this, and including us in the process, and let us come in and talk to the department on 2 separate occasions with just a couple of us. And department, you made yourself available to us, and we really appreciate that. And I see some of the suggestions we made or concerns we had addressed in the rule. Everything we had has been addressed. I hope this rule works out for the landowners and the outfitters and also the public. What we really like about it is that there's antelope, like the maps show, there's so many places where the antelope aren't even getting hunted. And the department's made a great effort to resolve that and put us out in the field. What we also like about it is, there's an increased public opportunity, and also when the public draws a permit, you only have to win 1 lottery, whereas before you had to win 2 lotteries. You had to draw a permit, so you won that lottery, and then you had to get lucky and get a ranch that was a good antelope hunting ranch. It's so nice. And what's nice about this rule with being able to hunt the entire unit is it gets public hunters in New Mexico talking to ranchers, because if I have an antelope permit in my pocket for a game management unit, I can go knock on doors and say, hey, can I hunt on your ranch? Can I pay you to hunt on your ranch? There becomes a dialogue, which is a healthy thing to have between hunters and their landowners. And some of the systems we have in the previous system, there was no reason for us to talk to each other. So that's a net benefit to that. And also we support the large ranches, what you spoke about, Chief Liley, about the large ranches being able to have flexible dates. That's a reasonable thing to have, and they should be able to do that, and we support that. Thank you.
So your organization is in support?
We are in support, full support.
Commissioners, any questions or comments?
job.
I'll start. Go ahead, Bill.
Mr. Chairman, I think we've been a long time in getting to this point, and I think it's gratifying to see that we've got quite a bit of support to a proposal that we were worried about because of the public input, and it looks like that worry doesn't exist. So I am tickled with the direction that this particular agenda item is going. Thank you.
And I would agree with Bill where I like where we've gone. This is the third envelope rule I get to vote on. We looked at changes, Stuart, you were part of that 6-7 years ago, and something like in this order, and basically got crammed down our throat from both sides, sportsmen and ranchers. I like this. I've never liked the small or the minimum acreage. This eliminates that. How do you get to common ground? And this is exciting. It gives us opportunity.
Rarely do you get the chance to make so many people happy, Mr. Liley. So that is a feather in your cap.
The only negative comments that I have had throughout this process, and I've attended a lot of the public meetings, are negative comments from public hunters who want to be able to hunt deeded land and can't, or from private landowners that don't want the public anywhere near their land. And both concerns are somebody wanting to hunt where they don't have legal access to, and then private landowners not wanting public hunters to be able to access public lands that they do have legal right to access and hunt. And so neither of those negative comments sit very well with me, because you should be able to hunt where you are legally entitled to hunt under our Constitution, and under I think that we need to be prosecuting and going after trespassers very vigorously and hard. And I appreciate the department reaching out to so many landowners who had concerns about that. But really, in my mind, trespass is a separate issue than this antelope program that whose very foundation is about the species itself and how to harvest this and manage this species based on biology. And so I appreciate the department coming up with policy that focuses on the biology of the animal and letting that dictate where this goes. And so major props to you, Stuart, and leading your department, and Director Sandoval, and just everything that your antelope guys sitting back there to come up with this really well thought out program. And again, the negative comments I've had have only pertained, don't sway me one way or the other on, you need to be able to hunt where you can legally hunt and protect the boundaries that you do have, but not boundaries you don't have. So I do want to encourage the department to continue to engage with landowners that are concerned about trespass, but I don't see where that persuades me on this particular antelope rule, and I'm in support of it.
Mr. Chairman, if I could add to that, it kind of builds on that. Stuart, I don't know if you mentioned what the efforts are on the mapping system that we're looking at as a department, to communicate part of that pocket ranger and the technology with our information services. If you could touch base on that.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Ramos, as the Commission's aware and it's been discussed, is we have this unique opportunity with BLM carry maps, right? That the department works with BLM on really getting out where is public land in the state. How do you access it? We have points. We work with the State Land Office every single year to develop those access points onto state land. It sits on an app that really lets hunters know, here's where I can legally access public land. And so that's a real great opportunity to say, when this rule comes in, where do I go hunting for pronghorn if I draw GMU 58, for example? We have that mapped out, showing where that public land is and where you can go legally access that land, as Commissioner Ryan discussed. And so we've been working with the State Land Office, the BLM, and we update that annually as we get there on the land status of those. Any of these agreements where we entered into a specific ranch, like on that pronghorn unit wide, we would put that up on the internet like we do for our open gate properties. So hunters know, look, this is a property that enrolled in this program that said they don't mind deeded or draw hunters coming on private deeded land. We'd map that out, show it, and show where those are across the state, so hunters have the knowledge and know where that is. So we are working towards that, and we will continue to encourage, as technology evolves, we'll continue to use it to our benefit and management.
Absolutely, and I definitely want to keep my eyes on that one because I think it's going to be a great model, and make it very user-friendly for you sportsmen as well as private owners, along those lines. Thank you.
Just to follow up on one more point, Stuart, on the unitization, just for the public that is here and present, educating them on the unitization option for those ranches that are, there's a lot of ranches in the southeast that are checkerboard, and so I am sympathetic to some of the issues that are special to the southeast area where I'm from. And isn't it correct that if you work with the department to go through that unitization process, that the landowner and actually has control over even where within his ranch boundaries that where public hunters can access his ranch and basically boundary off certain areas that we don't want any hunter?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Ryan, I'll use this graphic as a quick example. This already exists in rule. We would continue to use this as a process, as a tool for management of hunts. On these checkerboard ranches, what we could do, for example, I'm just going to use this as a graphic. Let's say this is a county public road along this north-south divide. What we could do with private landowners and work with them is say this northern half is going to be treated as public land. And we basically say this whole northern half, which includes, as you can see in there, many deeded parcels, will be treated as public for the utility of hunting. The department goes out and actually signs that process. But before we get to that point, we bring that to the commission to ask so we can go forth and do a unitization. What we would then do is, let's say on the southern half, we would treat that as all private, including some of this lease land in here. So what we look for is a gain for the public hunter as well, so they're getting access to deeded land that they didn't have access to or couldn't legally access this because of the checkerboarded status in there and maybe not a county road going through there. So you're getting access to the private deeded property. And then in the southern half on this one where it's it's interlocked, landlocked public land, but we're going to treat this as all private for the purposes of our hunting licenses is how that would work. So yes, that system is in place. We encourage landowners that have this checkerboard land status to come work with the department, work with our local offices to bring forward proposals that would benefit both the public hunter and the private landowner on terms of managing that checkerboard land status.
Thank you.
Yes. Stuart, I think that with that unitization situation, it's not only for antelope. It's an agreement to sign for a year-long term, and it applies to elk hunting, antelope hunting, or whatever on that particular ranch that signed a unitization agreement. Is that correct?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Montoya, that is correct. It's for all species. It's for quail. It really is trying to provide public access to landlocked public land, but also trying to delineate so we know defined boundaries when you get these really checkerboard land statuses.
It's a good program.
Have you found that the trespass issue is curtailed in the places that you have been able to work through unitization process?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Ryan, yes, it's really delineated very specifically. It would be something like a county road or a highway that says north of here all the way up is public, south of here is private. It's so you're not, where am I on an unmarked, so a lot of this will be one big pasture that's not fenced off, so you don't know this fence is that fence is that. It really gives them freedom saying 10 miles to the north is all public, treated as public, 5 miles to the south is treated as private. It's very easy to interpret at that point.
Commissioner Rickless?
Yes, I would also like to commend the department, Stuart, and Director. System answers most concerns that I heard from ranchers. Each ranch, of course, is a separate situation, and it looks like you've given enough flexibility for just about everyone. I think it's an excellent compromise from what we started with. One concern that I did hear often was unit-wide public land hunters. A rancher was concerned that, well, if you've got 15 hunters in this unit, all of them are going to be on me at one time. And I don't know how to answer that. I think hunters are not going to do that. But otherwise, I commend you for making it flexible, making it something that I think most landowners can live with, and I appreciate it.
Any other questions or comments? All right. We'll see you next month. Yes, sir.
Time frame, please. You're going to publish this.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Rickliff, so after this meeting, we'll go through, draft the rule. The rule is basically what we're proposing today. We'll draft that exact thing that we're talking about, post it to the New Mexico Register approximately the middle of March. So it's posted by April 1st at the very latest for action at the May meeting. And so really this is what you have in front of you today is what we will post in the rule for changes to be voted on at the May meeting.
So I would ask the public if there are more comments or changes or so forth prior to that publication is the time to get your comments in.
Get after it.
Because once it's published, it's pretty well set. So.
Okay. Can I get a motion to move up public comment to the next agenda item, please?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. So we'll take public comment now since we're just about wrapped up except for executive session. Taylor, you're on the mic.
Where did I go?
Right here.
Here in the front.
Karaoke.
Commissioners, folks, I'm Taylor Strite. I have, my son and I have Taos Fly Shop and the Real Life in Santa Fe. We have about 20 employees, and we take a lot of people fishing. And I've been involved in the fishing business for a long time in New Mexico. And I have a number of books. And we have a situation, to cut to the chase, on the lower Red River where the otters are eating all the trout. And we weren't that, this has been going on for a while. And it was stockers, they were mostly eating it first. And now there's the lower Red, for those of you that don't know, is probably the most important wild trout fishery in the state. And that's because it's where the browns in the fall spawn and the rainbows in the winter spawn out of the Rio Grande, the big fish. And what's happened, I think that the stocking has cut down, and which was, we were wondering, is that a good idea or not? But it seems like the otters have turned to the wild fish. And one of my guides was there 2 days ago, not on a trip. We can't take trips anymore there. This was our number one go-to spot for winter guiding, plus the public's number one spot, because of the warm water of the hatchery. Creates a real lush environment. But at any rate, one of my guides was right there by the mouth of La Junta, where if you're not familiar with the place, here's, if anybody can see, here's me with the Rio Grande Cup. But here's the junction of the Red and the Rio. And the area we're talking about is this lower portion of the Red here. You can't really tell that well from this map, but it's really the lower 5 miles or so that we're so concerned about on the Red, because this is where the spawning occurs. And there's no spawning fish, zero. It's history.
So, Mr. Strite, let me interrupt you for just a second. Mr. Sloan, what say you? This man knows fish.
Yeah, me too.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, it is correct that there are otters in the lower Red River. I do not believe that our stocking has been reduced. We did do a large habitat project in there from above the hatchery to below the hatchery that's probably changed where the fish are and the dynamics in that stretch of river. The data we've collected since 1996 seems to show a stable to increasing fishery in there. We have not gone in since 2016, but we do have a survey planned for the fall of 2018, and so that information will help us better understand what Mr. Street is seeing.
So in terms of that, hold on a second, in terms of that survey, how can Mr. Street assist you in that, if at all?
We'd certainly welcome him or Mr. Mitchell with Trout Unlimited to come along and observe the survey, and we could share the results with them.
So I assume you're willing to do that.
Well, yeah, but I really kind of missed the point of a fish survey because the population is so disseminated now from whatever.
So you don't want to study? You don't
No,
want to
no,
study?
yeah,
Okay.
certainly.
So we'll do a survey.
And there's an otter study going on right now.
So the only way to make a decision on this is to get some data from Mr. Sloan.
Uh-huh.
So we'll get that done, fall of 2018. When will that data be available?
Certainly by January of 19, but probably sooner.
Okay. So that's the path forward. Now, if you told me 6 months ago, I would have suggested we do a study 6 months ago.
Uh-huh.
But
Right.
One way or another, we're on track to do that. And I don't, certainly with this not being an action item, being a matter of public comment, the commission's not in a position to, knock down on this and say, do something. So it's going to be data driven at the end of the day, whether there's a problem or not.
Right, right. I have a hard time understanding how the fisheries is. In other words, like if we have a big fish number or a low fish number, how is that going to compute? I don't quite get it.
So what I would suggest is, rather than do this now, because I'm going to cut you off in a second, is visit with Mr. Sloan, ask those questions and get the information that you want, or help guide this survey or study to make sure those questions are being answered. So you have the golden opportunity to help guide this if you choose to do it. If you want to wash your hands of it, that's fine. But I would recommend cooperate with Mr. Sloan to see if there is a problem, number one, and if there is one, then we'll try and resolve it.
Right. And if I could just add, we're concerned about this 5 miles of the river, and the otters have spread into Colorado, up the Chama River. They have hundreds of miles. I mean, the otter folks are quite concerned that we're after all the otters. That place is the most important wild trout fishery in the state. And we have people walking into both fly shops, and they want to go fish, and they turn around and walk away when we tell them there's no fishing, and they don't buy the license, and they don't go. So it's a big deal.
Understood. And I'm not unsympathetic. So the first day I was on this gig back in February 2012, river otters was on the agenda.
Yeah, and I was a big proponent myself. So.
Well, and so I've just personally, I was skeptical. So if what you're saying is true, then I should have been skeptical, and rightly so. If it's not true, and Mr. Sloan's survey or study shows that there's not a problem, then I'm a fool, and that's okay.
And we've noticed, I might add, that we've noticed the fishing in the Rio Grande, where we guide 100 trips or so a summer, is really good shape. In other words, the otters have been apparently good for the Rio because they've cleaned out a lot of the crayfish and carp and competing things to the trout. So in that case, it's been good. But on the red, they seem to be able to corner the trout in tighter confines.
So Mr. Sloan, are you able to sort some of those issues out?
I think that our data will tell us. We look at age structure, we look at size across the entire population, and I think we'll be able to tease that information out.
You going to put on a frogman suit and go check it out?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
It's shallow.
Electroshocking is far more effective.
In the otter study, I know the fellow who's doing the otter study is very capable, Brian Long, and that's a scat study. So they're going to know, what they're eating. So we're going to know a lot, and that's supposedly going to be due like at the end of this year. So
stay involved.
Yeah.
I know Mr. Sloan's email, perhaps his phone is always open, but I'm sure you can even be on site when things are going down. So it's clear to me you've got something to add to this, so stay involved.
Okay.
It's important.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you. Jim Bates.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, my name is Jim Bates. As I said when I introduced myself, I am a co-chairman for the Southwest Consolidated Sportsmen. However, the comments I'm going to make are not representative of a position that they are taking formally. I have had a whole pile of stuff here that I was going to try to get through, but 2 minutes obviously is not going to do it. And there was a couple items that came up while you were discussing other topics that I felt needed to be talked about. First is the Javelina rule. Should have got in on that. I thought there was going to be a proposal to change the Javelina rule so that we no longer just allow people to go shoot javelinas and leave them in the field without taking them out. I think that has only been listed in the proclamation for the last couple of years, and that, very honestly, is ridiculous regulation. Nobody should be shooting javelinas in this state, and probably some of the other species, and not having to take them out of the field. I mean, that's just irresponsible.
Hold on a second.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Bates, that's driven by statute, so it'd actually take legislative action to change that. It is not driven by rule, so a bill would have to be introduced in the legislature to change that.
Okay, well, we're going to try to do that. We're going to talk to our legislators and try to get that taken care of. But in the meantime, that wasn't in the proclamation that you could leave them in the field up until a couple of years ago. And we need to just kind of put that back out where it's not there, so people don't think they can just do that. It's, like I said, it's irresponsible. Now, regarding some of the regulations on big game hunting in general, one of the things that keeps coming up with sportsmen is the issue of corner hopping. Everybody knows what corner hopping is. That means...
I'll give you a little bit more time.
Okay, thank you. From stepping from public land to public land at an intersection of where you have diagonal private land and diagonal public land. As far as I know, that has never been clarified by law. And I know people that say it's legal. I know people that say it's illegal. We need to have a clarification on that. And the final thing, if I may, is that I do represent sportsmen in Las Cruces, and I interact with sportsmen from around the state, and every single public sportsman in this state is concerned about one primary issue, and that is the allotment of hunting opportunity in this state. We brought that up time and time and time again, and that needs to be addressed. The fact of the matter is, anybody in this room can look at the system we have in this state and see that it is not fair to New Mexico resident sportsmen, and you need to address that issue. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Todd Leahy. Good year for the Red Sox or no?
Hopefully.
Coming up. All right.
Make it work.
We'll see.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, thank you for your time. I just wanted to stand up today and publicly give a shout out to Corporal Tyson Sanders. We recently organized a youth sheep hunt on Otero Mesa. Corporal Sanders took it upon himself to point out to our young hunter who had never been out before the location of some sheep, aided the young man in the hunt, gave him a great experience. We weren't able to harvest the sheep for him, but I just wanted to say thank you to the department and especially to Corporal Sanders. And one other thing, unrelated, our members have been screaming at us, somehow we're supposed to do this, for a shooting range in Farmington. The one that is there is private. The fees have become prohibitive. But if the department wanted to start looking at a shooting range in Farmington, you'd make a lot of Northwest New Mexico sportsmen happy.
So, visit with your membership. If they have ideas, places, we'll go scout them out. We can't, we're the fifth largest state by land mass. It's hard to be everywhere all the time.
Right.
But we're open to getting that done. We just need to find the right spot. So if they have any ideas, pitch us on it, and we'll try to make it happen.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Oh no, Brandon win again.
I passed.
You sure?
Yes, sir.
I wanted a disquisition on numbers and other things, but no?
You don't have any percentages or anything?
Too old, I can't add it.
Okay, just checking.
State Representative Nathan Small. How are you, Representative?
I'm well, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Morning.
How are you? Good morning, Mr. Salopek. Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Nathan Small. I'm proud to represent House District 36. Briefly, Commissioners, I want to thank you for being down here and also add my voice to the issue of tag allotment. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, we're slipping back to 2011 levels when you compare all tags and their allocation between resident and non-resident. Senate Bill 190, I believe it was 196, brought that back up to about 70%. The 2016 year, it had slipped back down to somewhere in the neighborhood of 66 or 67%, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. And I think as strong supporters of resident hunting opportunity, that's something that we as a state can't afford, and it's doing a disservice to our citizens. So, Mr. Chair, Commissioners, and Director Sandoval, who I want to say thank you to for your work in difficult times. I know you're looking into a number of these systems, both around antelope and elk. Please keep at the forefront of your mind as a commission the absolute fact that we're going backwards when we need to be making progress moving forward, and that tag allocation, that balance needs to be better represented for New Mexico residents.
Hold on a second. So in terms of that percentage, does that track with our...
Mr. Chairman, Representative Small, thank you for the question. When it comes to statute, if you review our requirements under statute, it says that for special hunt draws, the department will adhere to a quota. And we do that. Particularly, we have instances where there will be no non-residents that apply for a certain hunt code, and so we have 100% residents. We do not draw anything less than the 84% public hunter by hunt code by statute for public draws. The issue becomes when you start adding in the number of licenses that have been issued through the E+ and A+ system. That is those authorizations that are then turned over to the landowners that sign up in the system and allocate them as they choose. So the 66% that he's referring to is the combination of both special hunt draws that go through the public process and then also the authorizations that are issued to the landowners to distribute as they see fit. So from a public hunter perspective and statutory requirements, I can say with total certainty that the department is in adherence to statute. We follow that to the letter of the law. We actually have a higher percentage than what's required going to residents. I believe this last year we are at 87%. But the difference comes when you start taking into account those authorizations that are purchased by any number of individuals, whether resident or non-resident, through the E+ and A+ program.
So in order to improve the percentage you're talking about, and I don't want to put you on the spot today, but I think a continuing dialogue with the department to visit on that issue, because I know as a commissioner, sympathetic to New Mexico hunters and want to get a fair allocation of tags. So to the extent possible, continue or start the dialogue to get that done, because I know this commission, none of these rules are written in stone, except maybe the ones that come from the legislature, which are a little more challenging for us to deal with. But we are flexible if we can, and I think Commissioner Rickliffs earlier used the word compromise. I think this commission has tried to compromise on a lot of very difficult issues, and so we can try to build consensus for a different allocation or a different way to do it. But somebody's got to sit down and talk it out. Public meetings are great for that, to at least get it started, but a lot of the nuts and bolts goes on at the department level to get it done. So, have your staff or yourself, drive that dialogue, and if it's the right thing to do, we can get it on an agenda and talk about it further.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm committed to do that and look forward to following up with the excellent staff at the game department. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Commissioner.
Right on. Thank you for coming. Seeing no further comment, we'll go to closed executive session.
Mr. Chairman, I move to adjourn into executive session, closed to the public pursuant to Section 1015-1 H2 NMSA 1978, to discuss limited personnel matters relating to compliance and discipline pursuant to Section 1015-1 H8 NMSA 1978, to discuss property acquisition and pursuant to Section 1015-1 H7 on matters subject to the attorney-client privilege related to threatened or pending litigation in which the commission and/or department is or may become a participant as listed in Agenda Item 16, subsequent A, B, and C.
Roll call.
Commissioner Peterson?
Here.
Commissioner Ramos?
Here.
Commissioner Rickliffs?
Yes.
Commissioner Ryan?
Yes.
Commissioner Solopek?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Montoya?
Yes.
Chairman Kinzel?
Yes, and for the benefit of the public, there will only be a motion to adjourn when we come back. There'll be no further public comment. Thank you. We will dock her some pay. This commission had adjourned into executive session, closed to the public. During the executive session, the commission discussed only those matters specified in its motion to adjourn, and it took no action as to any matter. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Bang, pow.